Hello, everyone. This is Ed Brenniger, and welcome to First Conversations, a series of episodes from the Eddie Network podcast, where I am featuring people with whom I'm having my first conversation with them. Today's conversation is with Christineckidder Graves, a career coach, and our conversation is just fantastic. We talk about ageism in careers, and I learned a lot from her. And here I am, a 70-year-old, and I'm not thinking about retiring. I'm thinking about my third half of life. And we talk about these things. And we talk about how, when you pass 40, you can still do things that are challenging and courageous and not feel like you're just stuck. And that's what I found to be true. You can continue to grow, and you can continue to spread your wings and spread your impact throughout the world, no matter what age you are. So this is a really fantastic conversation. I was really pleased to meet her and get to know her and be encouraged by her, and I knew you will be too. So enjoy my first conversation with Christineckidder Graves, and we'll see you next time here on the Eddie Network podcast. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Hello, everyone. This is Ed Brenniger, and welcome to the Eddie Network podcast. My guest today is Christineckidder Graves, and she does career coaching, among other things. And I'm really excited to talk with her because if you know me, you know that transition is a big topic for me, and I love to talk about it. And there's no more greater transition than we go through than a career transition. So welcome, Christine. And tell us a little bit about yourself, and kind of tell us a little bit about what career coaching is like.
Sure thing. It's very nice to be here, Ed, and I have this conversation with you right now. So yeah, I'm an executive career coach, and I'm also a mindset coach. And what I do is I work with individuals, and companies also hire me too, when they feel like I can help their employees, their leaders. So I work with both companies and individuals when they want more from their work. They want more from their career. They want to expand their impact. They want to have a greater impact. They want to really stretch themselves. They want to have energizing work, because I firmly believe, I have a lot of beliefs, and one of my biggest beliefs is that when you have energizing work, it's the fuel for an extraordinary life, and God put us here on this planet. He gave us specific skills and talents, that these are our gifts, and we're supposed to share them. We need to use them. We can't let them go to waste. Not remember that parable in the Bible where the person took the gold that he was given, and he buried it in the backyard because he was afraid to lose it. God does not. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah. So that's my firm belief. And we spend so much of our lives at work too. Why not have work that is energizing, that's wonderful, that really lights us up, and where we can be of service to others, and using our gifts. So I work with my clients on a variety of things. I definitely have clients who are in job transition, in terms of trying to find a new job, as soon as possible. But then I also have clients who are not in job search mode, and they want greater clarity on what's next for them. So they may be committed to their current role. Like one of them, for example, is a CMO, and we've been working together it's coming up on a year soon, but for her to have greater clarity on what's next for her, So, and I do support her in her current role as a leader, but it's also like, what does she need to do now in order to get to where she wants? So it's being clear on like what's next for her, and then what the plan is to get there, so how does she need to become that future leader that she wants to be? What is her growth that she's taking on? So yeah, so that's like the two main areas that I work on, is helping my clients to be the leaders that they want to be, and also helping them to be in a role that's a really good fit for them, where they can expand their impact and their income and their influence, and just really, grow and stretch.
So what are the obstacles that you typically encounter for people where they're not able to be very energetic in the work they do?
Yeah. A lot of it is often we've got to get out of our own way. We set these limits for ourselves that it's like, well, when you really look at it and you question it, it's like, well, where did that come from? Why did I impose that limit on myself?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's really like examining those things. And some of the things that people come to me with is that ageism. I'm worried about ageism. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. And I'm going to be in the job market. And is it going to be hard? Are people going to not consider me because I'm older now? And I'm a realist. Ageism does exist. It definitely exists out there. I remember hearing from a labor attorney saying that the largest group of people that are discriminated against are the ones that are 40 and over. So, and it's true. It's just
that young. It's that young.
Yeah. Yeah, it is that young. I know. It is. Yeah. Well, with that, yeah, when you get with employment law, you're in a protected class if you're 40 and over. So it's one of the many protected classes. But yeah. So it is that young. And but it's like we can't let that discourage us. We can't let that stop us, and that's why it's really important to be rooted in your brand, who you are as a leader, and the value that you deliver to others. It's really critical.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you just just really got me on that ageism thing, because here I just turned 70 this summer, so I'm and I feel this creeping sense of irrelevancy. Now, I don't believe it, but I feel it, and I feel it in sort of the how do I describe this? Because I think it's something a lot of us feel, that it's not that we're really irrelevant. It's that people are looking at younger people as more vital and have greater vitality and greater energy, and they bring greater creativity to work. And those of us who are of a more advanced age, we've kind of settled in, and we have our ways of doing things, and we're not very flexible. Well, that's not true for me, but it's true I imagine, for many people who are having to go through this. So I would suspect now that we're going to see, as people live longer, more people who are older looking for jobs. When they hit 70, they may have retired, but they're still going to be looking for work to do. And that's going to have an effect on the workforce and the work environment, in communities and everything. So how do you look at that, and what's your kind of answer to that?
My answer is, if they're, for you and for anyone in your audience who feels the same way, a couple things. Number one, this is a great time to be in the workforce, because there's these different generations that are in the workforce. Okay. So there's baby boomers, there's Generation Xers, there's millennials, there's Ys. So, and I, as my background is in human resources, and I have my HR certifications, and I'm always doing continuing education to maintain those. And I recently, I went to an excellent presentation. I've gone to a couple actually, talking about millennials. And it's interesting that millennials and baby boomers seem to have this bond, so it's like the grandparents and their grandkids, so I think it's great. I think the workforce will only be better when the generations can work together, and can appreciate each other's differences and learn from each other. And I think growth only happens when we step outside of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
So we've got to take on those things that are both exciting and scary to us. Okay. So those big, scary goals, we need to regularly pursue those and really try to be uncomfortable on a regular basis, and also too, really try to learn something new regularly. So if you can combine those two things, being uncomfortable, because then if you decide to choose something, like let's say it's ballroom dancing, you have been a klutz for most of your life, but you've always kind of wanted to try it. Yeah. It's something that I want to do with my husband. So we've taken a few lessons, but we really need to get back to that because it'll be fun. But by pursuing that, the more you pursue it and the more you stick with it, even when you get discouraged, you want to give up, you do become comfortable with it. You do get to that point, but you have to persist and you have to consistently do it. It's really critical. Like I'll use the example of me. I didn't know how to swim. I really didn't take swimming lessons as a child. And in 2012, I decided that I wanted to start doing triathlons. And I knew that I'd have to learn how to swim, obviously. So I've been able to do open water swimming, which is the scariest thing to me, I think. But I've been able to do that. I've participated in the Chicago Triathlon twice. So, and I plan on doing it again too. So, but that's just an example of, taking something that is very scary and now when I swim, but I can remember the time when I just wasn't comfortable swimming. It was just really, because I didn't know it.
Well, I'm certainly impressed that you took that on. I mean, you didn't take it on as a 18-year-old or a 20-year-old. You were later.
No.
You were later in life and you took that on. Well, congratulations. I think that is one of the keys to being vital. I think maybe we're transitioning into talking about vitality, but I think because it's that constant learning, constant putting yourself in position where the things that you have not mastered to become the things that you focus on, and it's some of the stuff that I've been thinking about. When I turned 70 in June, I was talking about this as entering into the third half of my life, and was talking with my kids. We had a big party. I'm not a big party person around my birthday, but I had 3 parties to celebrate my birthday, and so I'm talking with people about what I want to do and things like that, and I realized that there are a couple of things that I want to do, and one of them is I want to learn to play the piano. I own a piano, but it's in storage, and so I have to get it out of storage, and actually I have to find a house where I can put it in, and I'd like to learn to play the piano, and and I don't know if I have the hands for it, but I'm going to try. That's what I'm going to try, and there are other things that I want to do, but here's also what I've discovered, and I'm going to kind of come back to the person who has kind of reached a point in their career where they recognize, okay, it's time to make a shift. Maybe maybe it's to another company do the same thing, or maybe it's to go do something else. I wrote a book that came out in 2018 called Circle of Impact. And in the first chapter, I tell the story of a man named William. And William goes to work for a corporation right out of college. And 25 years later, the company that he's worked for, he went into sales and then he went into management. The company gets purchased and his department is going to end up being transferred overseas. And he's not in a position where he can do that. He's got kids that are in high school. He's got parents. He and his wife have parents that are right there that need to be attended to. So he's going to leave the company. And what he realizes that the values of the company have become his values. And all of a sudden, being separated from the company, he has to then decide, well, who am I? And so, in this story, I create this story, we go through a process where he kind of discovers what his values are and what he wants to be in life. So in those kind of scenarios, how do you operate with people? How do you help them kind of find out what the next thing is for them?
Yeah. So something that one of the first steps I do is I have them do the Strengths Finder assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Again, coming from human resources, I have experience with a lot of assessments. I feel that assessment is the best for non-HR people to use. The cost is minimal. It's about $60. And it gives you really good information. And it doesn't matter if you've taken it a bunch of times. It's like, take it again, because it's another data point that we're gathering.
Yeah.
And we change, we evolve. I mean, I think I've taken it 4 times, and it's interesting to see how I've evolved and changed. And so that's a helpful data point for me. But I like it because it's about your strengths, and Babe Ruth was like, play to your strengths. You need he was, got it. And oh, thank you for sharing that with me. Oh, that's really cool.
Totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great tool, and it really helps us to get better clarity on the individual's brand, because that's when I first talk with a new connection. Like one of the most impactful ways that I can help someone is by doing my first call with them, which is really like a career clarity call. And I ask them 2 questions. I ask them, how do they rate their clarity in their brand, in their brand on a scale from 1 to 10? And how do they rate their clarity in that next ideal role for them on a scale from 1 to 10?
Mm-hmm.
Because that clarity impacts the success of our career. And if we're like really having the impact that we want to have, like by the end of your life, can you look back and do you feel like you've built something that you're proud of, whatever it is? Maybe it's you've passed on knowledge to people, you've helped them to be better, whatever it is you feel is your calling, but if you're not clear on your brand, and if you're not clear on how you want to use it next, it impacts any kind of job search you're doing, any type of transition you're doing. It impacts the impact that you're having. So yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so how do you help a person build their brand? What does that look like?
So we start with the Strengths Finder assessment, and then we discuss it, we look at it. And then the next step is, okay, you've got these strengths, individualization, woo, what's your story around those? Okay, give me an example. I actually have a very simple worksheet. It's my STAR Stories worksheet. Okay. And it's using the acronym STAR. So you start with the strength of like individualization. All right. We'll just use that as an example. And give me an example of how you use that strength. Okay. And because we need to use the power of story to communicate your brand, And these are stories that are in your toolbox. So when you're interviewing and you're having a conversation with a hiring manager, or maybe you're at a networking event and you've struck up a conversation with the CEO, and he's like really interested in hearing about the work you've done. But it helps you to have the clarity on your brand and how you've used your strengths. So you talk about the strength, you give a specific task where you used it. And you also talk about the action that you took in using that strength. What did you do? And then the result. So that's what STAR is. What's the result? What have you been able to achieve through your strengths? So that really helps. That helps us to really get greater clarity on the brand.
That's a great acronym there. I think it can be really helpful for people, not just at that moment of what my brand is, but just even planning how their day is going to go. What are the strengths that I'm applying to the tasks that are before me, and what are the actions I'm going to take, and what are the results I want to achieve. I think that's really fantastic.
Yeah. And it's easy to remember. STAR. Just think about, okay, how can I be a star today? How can I be a star in this interview? How can I be a star? And really, story is just so powerful. We all remember stories. Like when you think about people that you've met at networking functions or whatever, what makes people memorable? What makes them sticky in your brain? And it's the stories that they share.
You know what, my as I'm reflecting on what you're saying here, it just leaps ahead to me to think about a manager or a boss or an owner, and they're going to apply that in how they manage their people. So they're going to ask them to be the star. I mean, that's very much in keeping with what I do with my leadership stuff. I want them to take personal initiative to create impact that makes a difference, that matters. That's a star role that you're playing. It's a leadership role. So do you find yourself working with managers to help that kind of mindset get translated to their people? Or is that something that you could be doing if that opportunity was there?
Yeah, I think that that is definitely something. Like when in my former life as a HR leader, in the corporate section, in the corporate world, definitely like working with managers to help them manage their people. So many managers are promoted to that, but they're not given the skills, the training to lead a group of people. They're just individual contributors who've been promoted. They're still trying to work as an individual contributor and not realizing how critical it is to lead their team, So really helping them with that. And the thing is too, every individual has different needs, so you can't, one size does not fit all, as a leader. So yeah, so it's really when I am coaching clients and helping them to be better leaders, it's like, okay, well, let's look at the situation regarding this person and then this person, and really, seeing what that individual needs.
Do you end up having to deal with the relational context of their work? So if, let's say, okay, I start demonstrating that I'm a star, I start excelling and I started showing greater vitality, and all of a sudden the people in my circle, maybe on my team or even my boss is saying, what's going on with you? What are you trying to do? Why are you disrupting us? Why are you trying to be like me? All those kinds of things. I've encountered that personally. So how do you help people when it's clear that when they start elevating their performance, that there may be situations where they're going to be actually generating a level of conflict with the people they work with?
Yeah. In that situation, it's like, okay, how can we really get the most out of each team member, and also to be working together, be helping each other out, because that's the connection between the team members is important. And it's like, I think transparency is a good thing to have. Transparency is really important. But at the end of the day, I only have control over me, So, and you're really kicking butt. You are definitely a star, Ed. That's awesome. It's like, well, maybe having a team dynamic where there is transparency. So like everyone can like get on board and try to stretch themselves, you stretching yourself, you need to do what you need to do. And I need to figure out, how do I want to stretch myself? It's like each team member has to be motivated too. It's like that desire to be better. And like, what does that mean for the person? So, and pulling it all together. So, so there is going to be conflict. We can't push it down. But I think transparency helps with that, and also communication. Communication going different ways, communication between the leader and the team members, and then pulling people together so people know what's going on. So there is really true transparency, and getting everyone on board, everyone on the bus heading in the same direction.
I have two more questions in my mind that just are popping up as you're talking about these things. One of them is, so with this person that your client, you're coaching them, and they're excelling and they're growing in their confidence, and they're growing in their performance, and then it becomes apparent that this place is really not going to allow them to excel, that the situation, whether it's the social structure or the organizational structure, it's really not set up for them. So now it's a time for a real transition into to a different company. So what's your way of approaching that sort of question? Because I know there are many of us out there that probably are facing that now.
Yeah, it does happen. I mean, it's gone are the days. My father-in-law, I mean, he was the last person I remember who was at a company for like 30, 40 some years, and retired from there. So, and then I actually worked at a company where there were a lot of long-term employees, but I think that's really not the thing anymore. And it's okay. It's not a bad thing per se, but yeah, if you outgrow a company, if you feel that, I've changed and my values are in sync with this company anymore, or maybe they've changed, whatever it is, I think it's important to ask yourself those two questions of, what is my brand? Like, who am I? Who am I as a leader, and what is it that I do? How am I invaluable to others? Because I think that's the ultimate job security, is when you are always evolving, always changing, and looking at how you can be invaluable to others. And then how do you want to use your skills and strengths? How do you want to, like, what types of roles do you feel that you can really serve others? So asking yourself those questions. And then also too, from there, then I think I work with my clients to put together a target company list, because, like if you were investing in the stock market, typically you have like a watch list, companies that you keep an eye on, and you're kind of, maybe I'll invest in them or not. I don't know, but I want to watch them. Why wouldn't you do the same thing with companies that you want to work at, or that you're interested in? You like what they're doing in the world or in the community, hey, that might be great to be a part of that, to be on their leadership team, to help. So like, have a company target list, Again, I mean, this is for everyone. You don't have to be in transition. Like if you're loving your current job, you should still have a target company list, because you want to know what's going on in the business world and what companies are up to, I mean, there's so many cool things going on with AI and just all sorts of things. So don't you want to know what's going on? So
Is and you don't have to answer this question, but is this what you went through when you decided to leave a corporate job and start your own business?
that was so I was in a major turning point, because I had several things going on. My son's father died in 2015, so I truly became a single parent,
Oh,
and then being a single parent, and I was traveling my job, and often I would actually bring my son with me on some trips, but I wanted more flexibility. And then also to my father lived to be 91. So, but we lost my mother in 2009. So it was just, and he lived on his own until the very end. So but being available for him, being there for him was important. So, so just, I wanted flexibility, and also too, I had always wanted to have my own business. So, and it's like, well, if I don't do it now, I don't think it's ever going to happen.
mhm.
So, so that was what really drove me. I mean, I did think about, there was a time when I thought, oh, I'm just going to continue my HR career in corporate, but my heart really wasn't in it. It was not in it at all. I'm like, not motivated. And but I've been extremely motivated to have my own business.
Well, I can tell you're happy with that choice, that decision you made. I mean, it just comes through, and I congratulate you for that and celebrate that with you, because I think if you've had this positive experience of transition, there's that word that I like to use, but of actually changing your career in mid-career, then you're an example to other people who can do the same thing. Because I do think there are a lot of people who, and maybe this is the thing we talk about now, is that what I have found is that there are people that they grow up, go through high school, they go to college, they may even get a master's degree, and they've been following some kind of pathway that they feel like is the right one for them. And it may have been told that this is what they should do or something. And all of a sudden they may be 30, they may be 40, somewhere in there, they realize this isn't really what I want to do. And I want to do something different. And in some cases, they want to go start a business. Some cases, they want to be free, be more flexible. And I see that this is a growing thing, that one of the effects, this is the second question I was going to ask, one of the big effects of the COVID pandemic was people realized that they had been overly constrained, too much so, and they wanted to be freer, and they liked the idea of working from home and things like that. So what do you, let's look at the big picture. What do you see from a big picture point of view as what's happening in our culture in terms of how people feel about work and their future?
Yeah, I can definitely speak to that. And you reminded me of that awesome book written by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Because that book was like a major light bulb for me, because it's great how he writes it. He talks about his father's experience and then his friend's father. And, I was raised with, you go through the educational system and you get a college degree and then you get a job in corporate, and and that's the formula that you follow. And how he talked about it with his father and then his friend's father, and just, it's like, really, you've got to build your own path. You've got to listen to your heart's desire and what's most important to you. So yeah, so that totally reminded me of that. I just had to talk about that. I think now, yeah, I've seen a lot of people. I think there's a lot more people that are working in corporate right now who are starting side gigs. Okay. And I've also seen a lot more people venture out and start their own business, which is wonderful. And I encourage people to, if they have even an inkling of that, to start it now, to start it on the side. I think too, I think it's really important to acknowledge our relationship with money, and how I think in the United States, many of us have a dysfunctional relationship with money, and money is, it can be abused, it can be misused so many ways. And I think that I feel like in the United States, we need to do a lot more work on our relationship with money. I think it's important. Yeah. And myself included, I feel I'm dedicated to, I really want to become a better steward of money, because when I'm a better steward of it, then I'm more empowered to help others, and that really excites me. So yeah, but I want people to be healthy and to have a healthy relationship with their work and their money. I don't want anyone to ever feel like they're trapped, like, I have to be in this job because I have to support my family and I have to do this, and I must have this house and I must have this car, and that's not what life is about. So yeah, so I just want people, whatever I can do when I'm coaching my clients, if I see things that are not healthy or dysfunctional or just convoluted, I'm going to discuss that with them, bring it to their attention, and really, because we have blind spots. I mean, we all have blind spots.
I asked the question because in my own experience, the things that I was trained to do, I was never going to be very good at. And so I had to go out and be a self-starter and a self-learner. And all the things that I've learned on my own, I do pretty well. And because I've had to make it work. And it's been an interesting journey, and I've gone through lots of changes. I mean, I probably have 3 or 4 times the number of transition points that most people go through, and I'm still in the midst of that. And I would, when people ask me that question, I say, I don't tell them to follow their bliss. I don't tell them to follow their passion. I tell them to go look for something you can do where you can have an impact, and you can measure that impact, and because then you will know more about who you are than anything else. And the second thing is, take care of your money. Money is freedom, as long as you don't see it as a route to accumulation of stuff that you then have to become responsible for. Allow yourself to let that money stay in the bank and allow it to grow so that you are free to go do things. So that's essentially what I was able to do. And over the past decade, I have traveled to 15 different countries because I could, and now I'm at a different stage of my life. And so the question is, okay, how am I going to take what I have left and allow it to grow and carrying me through the next 35 years? Because I'm planning to live to 105 and work to 100 and then spend 5 years in retirement. That's my plan. So I think people can have a plan like that without it being something restrictive. Actually, it's a plan of aspiration of what they can do and what they can learn. And, like becoming a triathlete, like you have. I think that's just fantastic. And so I think that's a really great thing that both of us are a kind of feature in what we do with people. And I celebrate that with you, and hope that people who are listening today may find that this is something that they want to delve into, and they come find you, because I think this is something that's really important for people, and they really need it. And just I've been there, and so
Yeah.
tell us about how people can find you, and what is it like to work with you? Tell us a little bit about what that's like.
Yeah. So people can find me on, well, my website is christineckidder.com. They can definitely find me there. I'm on LinkedIn almost every day of the week. So except like not Sunday really, but I love writing, and I love posting on LinkedIn. And out of all the social media platforms, I feel LinkedIn is the best platform to be on. It's a great source for content. And I have over 22,000 followers on LinkedIn, and because I'm really committed to providing value to people, to my followers. And so yeah, so those are the two spots. My email is super easy. It's just Christine@christineckidder.com. So people can, email me too. That's not a problem at all. The way describing what it's like to work with me, it's important for me to be compassionate and to be open and transparent with my clients too. So if I see something that is concerning, I mean, my clients count on me to be illuminating, to shine a light on blind spots. So because again, we can only see so much.
Mhm.
There's I can't remember. I want to say maybe Eric Schmidt was a former CEO of Google. But he basically said, yeah, if professional athletes and artists have coaches, really coaching can provide you so much value. And the biggest value is to shed light on your blind spots. So yeah, I want my clients to get to where they want to go, that challenge, that's so hard that they've been working on. So yeah, it's really supporting them with that. I love using my creativity too. So like thinking of new ideas to help them and to support them. And I want them to be them. I don't want them to pretend to be someone else, because that's not why we're here. We're supposed to be, you're supposed to be Ed, I'm supposed to be Christine. And that's truly what it's about. So, and I have to bring this up because you had mentioned it. So I studied piano for 12 years. Okay. Everyone in my family studied piano. And then I became an adult, and I didn't play the piano for forever because I didn't have a piano to play. I would only, and when I went to visit my parents, I really wouldn't play the piano. So when my father passed away, I have the piano now that I took lessons on as a child. And I did go back, and I went and I had lessons.
Okay.
And it was hard, Ed. It was really hard.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. And I have to, and the problem was, I'm just sharing this because I want your audience to know, never give up. I love that quote from Winston Churchill, never give up. And I haven't given up. I'm going to go back to my piano lessons. But the key thing is we have to make sure, even if we're just spending 15 minutes a day practicing the piano, practicing our craft, whatever that is that we need to get better at, we need to do it consistently.
I see it as developing physical coordination, but even more so, being able to do two things at once, two different hands playing, and being able to do that together, to me, is it's a very difficult thing. But once you've learned it, it becomes this embodied sort of knowledge. Once you've learned it, then I wouldn't say that there's no limit to what you can do, but obviously there's a limit, but in piano playing, because most of us aren't that kind of don't have that talent. There's a talent side to this, but that we can play enough to find enjoyment, and if you like singing, you can play the piano for. I mean, I really dig these people who are walking through shopping malls and airports where there's a piano and they start playing, and then someone comes up to them, so, do you know this? And all of a sudden, they're either singing an opera tune or they're playing a violin, and I'm thinking, I'd like to be one of those people.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing too is my mother, she learned how to play by ear, and my grandmothers could do that too. So like once you get more comfortable with reading music and playing, then you can broaden your horizons and you can develop your ear, and you can, but it just takes practice, and just being creative and just like kind of going with the flow. It's great.
My mother began her college career as a piano major. And
Oh,
she gave me one lesson, and then things went a different way, and so I never got beyond the one lesson. But I remember that lesson. I mean, it remains as one of those treasured moments with my mother. As a result, wish we'd continued. So
yeah, that's awesome.
So lifelong learners, here we are, and I think maybe that's the key to managing the transitions and managing the career paths that we go through. Keep learning and keep discovering what it is. And I also say, go do the Strengths Finders. I think it's a great tool, and it's a great tool for conversation. If you can, a great way of talking to people. What's your Strengths Finder? And you say, oh, this, and so yeah, it's a constant. It's a great thing. Well, thank you for being here. I've enjoyed this very much. I know everybody else will love it too, and I hope that we get to talk again when the time is right.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can tell me about your piano lessons and how they're going.
I gotta buy a house first. I gotta buy a house first, and then I'll have to get the piano moved, and I have to get it,
Tuned. It needs to get tuned. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a piano that's well over 100 years old now, so
Wow.
so it'll be interesting to see what actually has to go into getting it up to speed. So that's I got 30 years to learn how to play. So
Yeah.
so thank you, Christine, and thank you everyone for watching. And please subscribe and hit the like button, and if you have a comment, leave it so that we can know what you're thinking and interface with you and interact with you if that's possible. So we thank you, and thank you again, Christine. It's been great, and we will see you next time here on the Eddy Network podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.